to you live from the UCOM Media Studios. It's UCOM Live with Chris LaGrange. News, talk, sports, and workforce politics. The loudest, strongest, and fastest growing podcast on, in, and around the internet. Now here's your host, Chris LaGrange.
So Vinny Alvarez, the president of the New York City Central Labor Council, will be calling in how the HEROES Act will unite the nation behind a piece of legislation. The cops can stay in. The AFL-CIO doesn't kick out the police unions from the National Federation. It's controversial. We'll talk about it. Our nation's union leaders want the SecDef out and the Joint Chiefs of Staff too. Plus, 1.5 million Trump voting government employees will not have a job. And the Players Union and the MLB League are in talks because guess what? There could be baseball. What's up, everybody? Chris LaGrange here with UCOM Live with me. Chris LaGrange, news, talk, sports, workforce, politics, the fastest growing podcast on, in, and around the internet. Two people clap.
Skippy's here.
Skippy, Dippy, Ding Dong, Ding-a-ling-a-doos in the front office. James is always
Pressing the buttons, getting things working. Know-it-all Brian.
Shut up, Brian.
Don't piss me off today, buddy. I'm in a mood. And why do I have this green thing in front of me?
So when we're doing voiceovers, you were
Jesus Christ.
keeping it sanitary for them.
All right.
But not for you.
I got a green mic. And I'm sorry we're not live on Instagram yet. A little late. Controversy in the American Union movement. Man, there's so much stuff. This is the controversy. Now, what is that, you may ask? Brian, what'd that sound like to you?
A baby
A baby what?
crying.
James, I'll play it one more time. What does this sound like? Ready?
See you at last call.
Yeah. Yeah. So, we should get it out of the way before Vinny Alvarez calls in, because he's going to call us sometime between 4 and 5 to talk about the HEROES Act. The HEROES Act, to make a long story short, Brian, what does it do? The HEROES Act. It's a piece of legislation in Washington, D.C., correct?
Yep.
And Congress, which is all blue, is voted on it. And now we need the asshole Republicans who have ruined this nation.
Yeah, it needs to pass the Senate.
To pass the Senate and then put it in
Trump's hands.
Trump. Oh, man. Trump has Alzheimer's, just so you know, James. Anyway, so what's the HEROES Act does what?
Yeah, so it would require OSHA to issue emergency workplace infectious disease standards.
Okay.
Provide aid for state, local governments, schools, and the post office. It would provide relief for the multi-employer pensions that have been in some financial trouble.
Okay.
Provide 100% subsidy for healthcare for workers that have been laid off. It extends the unemployment benefits through the end of the year, including the extra $600 a week that people are getting.
Okay. Or were getting or still are getting.
I think they still are until the end of June.
Okay.
And then it provides rental and mortgage relief and additional food assistance.
Would it affect the 1.5 million Trump voters who lost their job, who are government employees?
Yes.
You know, I feel bad, kind of, for the Trump voter who didn't have the mindset or the intelligence to realize, oh, shit, I just got duped. I just got fooled. And we had a public employee union that we worked with for a very short period of time. Months of our life we're not getting back. And I saw like Trump stickers and shit in their cubies. And I'm like, these dumb motherfuckers. Lazy, obese, not forward thinking, never volunteering for charity, just assholes. And I don't feel bad that they're losing their job. But maybe they provide a vital service. I don't know. Maybe someone's got to hire the guy to go out and do the work. And that's what the people in this particular department that I'm talking about do. Or not.
Well, for every Trump person that lost their job, a teacher is going to lose their job, or somebody, a social worker who works for the county or the state.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I had a job a long time ago before I was a grown up, and I worked in government. I worked in the county. And when I stopped working in the county, I stopped caring about the county because the only people who cared about the county are people who are fucking working it. It was so unimportant. That's why yours truly is really involved with federal stuff. I care a lot about who's in Congress, about who's in the Senate, and who's in the White House. I value and respect people who are on the cabinet and who make great things happen. I could give a flying fuck who's passing leaf blower laws. I'm just not that way. I used to be. And those of you who are in local government, I hate to sound like an elitist or someone who's like, thinks I'm better than you. I'm not by any means. I have no patience for people. I can never deal with government. But once you leave a local municipality, those issues stay there. And that's what I'm getting at, is that the rooster has come home to roost with these folks. You went ahead and elected a madman to run the government who's never worked in government before. And as a result, your government job is fucking gone. It's rooster coming home to roost. It's, what do you call it? What do you call it, Brian? What's another analogy for what I'm trying to say? Brian doesn't know. Brian!
Payback?
Payback. Payback's a bitch. So, speaking of payback, the cops are really mad. And okay, so they're mad. They're mad they're being vilified by society. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I don't have the numbers and the list of names in front of me. For as long as I've been doing this show, for as long as I've been doing UCOM, name after name after name after name, black men being murdered has just come through my feed.
Mm.
And it just hasn't stopped. It's been nonstop. But something's happened recently with this George Floyd character, and the nation was just fed up. I think it was all of this coming to a head: the quarantine, the joblessness, the 3.5 years of hate and division, being laughed at by Europeans. Americans used to be great. Now we're fucking morons to the rest of the world. And then you go ahead and do this in a state I would never go to unless I was forced to go there. There's been, first of all, riots, then peaceful protests in every state in the union. And now what was once demonic and evil, Black Lives Matters, I was told by many, many, many of officers of the law, because I had the fortunate and unfortunate opportunities to coach under police athletic leagues, that they said Black Lives Matters was a terrorist organization. Even there's even to this day, as early as yesterday, police organizations have been putting out, and police unions have been putting out messaging that people who are involved in Black Lives Matters are socialists and gangbangers and drug pushers and all this shit. I
think the head of the Philadelphia police union called them terrorists yesterday. I think it was Philadelphia. It was,
yeah. So I did one of these marches, and you all saw it. Those of you who are loyal UCommers. UCommers. We should make a shirt. UCommers. And we still got to get what's his face a shirt saying if you can organize a picnic, you can organize a union. We're working on that, Harold. But I was not marching with gangbangers and drug pushers. I was marching with my niece, who's in college, who's going to school to become a nurse. She's half black and half really brown, Dominican. I was marching with my nephew, who is half black and also half Dominican. He's a school child. He is not a terrorist, you fucking asshole in Philly, your shitty little city. So I got no love. And I got no fucks to give anymore, James.
James!
How many do you have to give, James? 1 or 2?
No fucks.
No fucks. I don't have 1 or 2 or 3. I have none. Gotta hope Vinny's not listening. He's like, I'm not calling in right now. I'm getting this out of the way now because I know Vinny's in a meeting right now. than a call later. But it's got to stop, guys and gals, and law enforcement labor. When yours truly, who loves you very much, and I've given up weekends and nights to come and support your organizations, and I say, hey, the communications workers are on strike, come and join the picket line. Or the IBEW is having an informational picket, come and join it. Or we're having a fundraiser to elect somebody who loves us to public office, come and join it. Or we're doing a food drive to benefit the less fortunate in our community. All the unions are getting together. Please come ahead and be a part of it. And when you tell me, no, we're not because we're a different type of union, well, now the rooster has come home to roost. You were almost kicked out of the AFL-CIO. And this little dump could get me in a lot of trouble if I play it later. And I've been on the phone all freaking day with people about it. But James, James, we can hear you, buddy. James
still doesn't learn.
He still doesn't learn. James right now is lining somebody up. And we can totally hear him setting that up. But the thing is, like, I believe that, like the AFL-CIO put out, and did you print that out in its entirety? Please tell me you did.
Yes.
Yes. There was a call to remove law enforcement unions from the AFL-CIO. Now, those of you who have PBAs and FOPs in your neck of the woods know that most of them are independent. But some of them have AFL-CIO after. I didn't even know that.
They're part of the International Union of Police Associations.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for saying that. But do they pay per capita? Do they pay dues? You would assume?
I would assume.
All right. So, anyway, they supposedly pay into that. And they have a voting powers in the AFL-CIO.
They also could be part of a union like AFSCME or the Teamsters, which also represents, well, Teamsters aren't part of it, but AFSCME represents law enforcement.
I made a joke last year that the Service Employees International Union have security guards, and I said, because it was funny, they're the union to stop the formation of all unions, because security guards don't let union organizers into properties.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Security guards. Should have paid attention in school. Anyway, so moving on. So they were almost kicked out of the AFL, and the AFL-CIO, which is an umbrella organization of all the unions in the world getting together and forming one voice in government. James, we okay? Are we doing anything?
I'm okay now. I wasn't doing good a couple minutes ago.
What was that?
Donnie called up.
Oh, okay.
We're having a convo.
Okay, tell Donnie he's got to call back later.
Yeah, we were
when we get to his section. Okay, Donnie.
We'll talk about it later.
Donnie, what the fuck? Okay. So, what were they cited two things, inclusion and access. Brian, can you just read those two quotes, what the AFL-CIO said about not removing police unions from their list of friends?
Sure. So they said, first and foremost, we believe police officers and everyone who works for a living have the right to collectively bargain.
And that is true. Everybody who works for a living has a right to union representation. Everybody. Maybe not managers so much because they hire and fire, or CEOs because, they make too much anyway.
What about campaign workers?
I mean, that's controversial
what
as
about
well.
Organizers?
That's controversial as well. I don't think so much, but I've had campaign people saying, Chris, yes, because we sacrifice so much for the cause and blah, 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 this and blah, 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 that. But yes, if you work for a living, you have a right to bargain collectively with your peers for your wages and benefits. So I think that taking away bargaining rights for police officers in the wake of everything that's going on is just criminal, asinine, and fucking stupid. There, I said it. And then the second quote, the second citation from the AFL is also what?
We believe the best way to use our influence on the issue of police brutality is to engage our police affiliates rather than isolate them.
What, James? We got Vin on? No, we're not ready for him yet. Just give me 1 second. Repeat that again, Brian.
So we believe the best way to use our influence on the issue of police brutality is to engage our police affiliates rather than isolate them.
If you're not at the table, you're on the menu. If you don't have access to a cause or an organization or a person, you're never going to have influence over it.
Yeah.
So kicking them out and then saying to all unionists across the country, from Maine to California, every time you're at a rally, you see a cop, that's an enemy. That is more death and more blood to be spilt from now to the day my children die. Mm-hmm. So I think that's smart. I called Hamilton Nolan from In These Times magazine, or In These Times website, because he wrote a scathing piece about how he's proud that the Writers Guild has asked the AFL to go ahead and remove. I guess journalists don't like getting body slammed at rallies any more than the rest of us do.
Yeah.
I've had my run-ins with mouth-breathing, flat-faced cops, just like the rest of you, right? There are good cops out there. I promise you. We're going to find them. All right? But before we get into that story, because we're going to play some audio from George Floyd in Congress.
From his brother.
And we're going to play some audio of this other guy who, man, I wouldn't fuck with him. He was flexing his muscles. How much? He was like, did 4 lines of coke before he did this, his press conference there. Mark McNamara, whatever the fuck his name is. We're going to play that for you later, but we're going to change subjects real quick because there's something more important going on. How do we unite everybody who's so divided right now, Brian? How do we get people who in Black Lives Matters, people who are staunch Americana, red, white, and blue to the day I die, to the first responders who are dying from COVID, to the regular working moms and dads, the teachers? How do we get people finally realizing, okay, we're, short of going to the polls in November and removing this madman that accidentally snuck himself into the White House, how do we get behind it? And I talked to Vinny Alvarez, the president of the Central Labor Council in New York City last week. I'm like, I'm so frustrated, Vin. The AFL, we need to march like everyone else. What can we do, though, to use our energies for the public good? And he's like, Chris, the HEROES Act. So I'm like, will you please come on next week and talk about it? He's like, I will. So do we have him, James?
Yes, we do.
Mr. L.
I'm on, Chris. How you doing? It's Vinny up.
Vin, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Good to be on. Good to be with you.
I'm sorry I was going on a tirade earlier. I hope you were only on for a few seconds and didn't hear everything.
Well, I heard some of it. And let me just say, look, this is a challenging time for us. There's no question about it. And we can have a labor movement with different opinions. But it's hard to be effective in fighting for working people in a divided labor movement. And we're going to keep trying to address a lot of different issues.
Yeah.
As we do that together, though, as one labor movement.
Yeah. I like using the term blue collar cops. I've used it before. There's a difference and just painting them all with the same brush. So I think that deep down inside we agree on that. So Vin, tell me.
We do, and we agree that everyone, every worker, all workers should have the right to have a voice at work and the freedom to join a union.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you wanted to talk about what we're doing now.
Yes.
And what we're doing in the short term on a lot of different fronts. And you and I had a discussion last week about the HEROES Act. Next week's going to be a big week of action on what we can do.
Okay.
And Chris, as we discussed last week, the labor movement, we face a crisis really on 3 fronts, if you think about it, right now. Yep. And that is challenging for all of us as working with for nearly 4 months now, public health and all the impacts of that's having on society and on the world. The economic crisis that we face with over 40 million Americans out of work, and the ongoing struggle for racial justice and to eliminate the racial inequities and disparities that we've seen throughout society for many, many years and decades, and how those 3 crises are interconnected. Yeah. And they are. You can't just separate them because each one of them is interrelated and interconnected, and our response and the things that we have to do have to address all those 3 issues right now because they are 3 imminent crises that need to be addressed.
So are you saying, Vin, that a piece of legislation in Congress and in D.C. can solve all three of these problems?
Well, it's part of the immediate solution to some of those problems that we have to deal with. Mm-hmm. And I would say it's not just that; it's other things that are taking place too, like the census, which I hope you're promoting on your show, because that helps with these three crises as well. But let's talk about the HEROES Act. Let's talk about the round of COVID legislation.
Yes.
Now, keep in mind, the AFL-CIO has said that we have to wrap how we address these crises around 5 economic essentials. And the first one is to keep America healthy by expanding health insurance for workers, by keeping our frontline workers safe and secure, by keeping workers employed and protecting those earned pensions that we have, by keeping our public schools, the postal service, and state and local and county governments funded, incredibly important, and by keeping America competitive by hiring people to build infrastructure. Okay, so that's like the umbrella, if you will, mm-hmm. with the 5 economic essentials that we're trying to advocate for at many different levels, but certainly at the federal level to address these 3 crises that we face. Now, the COVID-4 bill, the HEROES Act, the next round of stimulus that we're seeing debated right now down in D.C. and eventually will come out of D.C. is going to do a lot of things to address issues that communities of color, as well as working people, are dealing with and facing right now. So think about all the things potentially that can come out, by the way, of the next round of COVID legislation. We're talking about billions, hundreds of billions of dollars for state and local government, hazard pay for frontline workers, money to protect our elections, literally hundreds of millions of dollars to fund that would be funded for education at the local level, some for public transit, billions of dollars for public transit, for public housing, lifting the SALT tax, COBRA reimbursement. That is really important with folks that are that right now are out of work and seeing their health insurance go away. That's really important as well as potentially they're talking about a $50 billion infusion of money to the United States Postal Service. So these things, Chris, are really important. But you said, well, how are they relating to the economic crisis and how is it related to race and how is it related to the pandemic?
Now, so Vin, real quick, everything that you just brought up from education, protecting our elections, mm-hmm. public trans, hazard pay, sure. Infrastructure, right? Pensions. This seems like tackling on all of Trump's failures in one piece of legislation from the House. Am I wrong in thinking that? Am I being divisive myself, or am I just reiterating common sense?
No, you're not. And he has not. I mean, if folks that were supportive of him, working class folks, even if they were supportive of him 4 years ago, just look at his record now. And I know that we'll talk about the federal legislation, but just look at his record of how he hasn't addressed these issues that now we're having to address, not just because of the pandemic, but because of other issues throughout society that we're having to deal with. But I talked about how race interconnects with some of these. During the pandemic, we see 58% of blacks have lost income, 52% of Latinos have lost income, 49% of Asians have lost income, and 42% of whites have lost income. So a lot of people have lost income, but disproportionately, communities of color have been impacted recently by the pandemic and the by the economic crisis. Mm-hmm. So, you look at the HEROES Act that's going to be coming out. It provides unemployment insurance. It provides, as we said, COBRA reimbursement to help for people to restore some health insurance that they're going to have, a boost to expand Medicaid. I mean, these things, Chris, are all really important for working class people, but importantly, for low-income communities of color who've been disproportionately impacted by these two crises.
Now, because this is
And
federal,
Trump has done nothing to reach out.
This is not
federal.
just New York. This is persons, regardless of what they look like, black, Asian, white, all across the nation. Now, I would assume that even some of our GOP lawmakers here in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut are on board. Do we know who doesn't want this common sense legislation to pass in certain parts of the nation or even in our area?
Well, keep in mind that we have right now it has passed the House and it's over into the Senate.
Okay.
So there is a list that is out in the Senate of, I believe it's about, and I hope it's as current as it could be, but as of a few days ago, the list included 20 Senate Republicans. Obviously, Senator Schumer and Senator Gillibrand are where they need to be on this.
Yeah.
But there is a group out there, and I would say, some of it are people where our retirees live. And I can read off the list of the top targets for you if you want.
If you don't mind, please do. Brian,
Okay.
Write this down.
Senator Rubio, Senator McSally, Senators Tillis, Cassidy, Collins, Hyde-Smith, Romney, Gardner, Portman, Rounds, Daines, Blunt, Hawley, Capito, Ernst, Fisher, Haven, Moran, Roberts, Sullivan, and Murkowski.
Romney,
As of
huh?
now.
Romney, huh?
Well, as of now, or as of earlier, this week, that's going to change, hopefully, and hopefully some of them are moving in the right direction. Look, I think we have to focus on the fact that that these are critically important times, and we are facing. I mean, it's really unprecedented. We're facing three crises, and we have to do everything that we can to make sure that what's coming up over the next couple of weeks, which is the debate and ultimately a passage of what we hope for is the next round of stimulus, that they're going to address some of the issues that working class communities are dealing with, and particularly New York State and New York City that are at the epicenter of the pandemic and the economic crisis right now.
Now, when I talked
to you, it's really important stuff, and we have to get it right.
When I talked to you last week, Vin, I was frustrated that why aren't we calling for a march on D.C. in the wake of the pandemic and social distancing and wearing masks? Is it smart? Should we risk life and limb to go out there and lead with our face? And that's when you said, Chris, this HEROES Act is, I need you. You asked me, Chris, we need you to concentrate on this. We need you to put it out there. And I'm happy to do. That's why we got you on. But I mean, with all the information that you just gave us, with the target list of the 20 GOP people who are going to ensure that the rich get richer and the poor stay poor and we get sicker. If we don't march in the street on this, right, like the Black Lives Matter activists did, will the 20 GOP senators hear us, or do we have a different strategy?
Well, I would say that the strategy is going to have to be flexible because different senators are going to need different pressure in different states.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, our senators are good here. I would, recommend making sure that we reach out to our friends and our family and our colleagues in different states. If you have ones that live in Kentucky or in Florida or North Carolina, where a lot of retirees move further south to, there are people that, there are people that they could reach out to. There are people that they can call. There are people that they could march on that are going to be trying to gauge whether or not their constituents want them to move on this legislation or not.
Mm-hmm.
And so, there's going to be a lot of different actions taking place over the next several weeks. Yes, next week is a big week for a lot of actions, but for some of them, it's going to be, thanking some senators who have done the right thing, congressional members. But for all of them, it's going to be making sure that we push and we march and we let people know in those states that they're not doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And we need them to get up, and we need them to get with the program and make sure that they're helping working class people who are suffering right now in this country.
You are the elected president of the New York City Central Labor Council. You got millions of members, right?
We have approximately 1.3 million.
Yeah, members. That's probably that's a big nut. Now, you're probably under a lot of pressure right now, Vin. Have you ever experienced a time like this in your career? You've been CLC president for like, what, a decade now?
Just about, almost 10 years. And I have not seen this level of activity and sustained level of activity for as long as I've seen it now with the combination of these three crises that we're dealing with. It is intense. And I got to tell you, there are my colleagues in the labor movement, from the Long Island Fed to the New York State AFL-CIO across the country, individual union leaders have been working tirelessly for months now to both provide services for the general public, to keep their members employed to the extent that they can, to keep them safe, to keep them healthy, to get them back to work, to address various economic issues, and then more recently to ratchet it back up and deal with some of the issues of dealing with race and the struggle for racial and economic justice, and address, the murder we've seen of George Floyd, and more recently also of Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery. So they're dealing with this 24/7. Literally, I have seen people working tirelessly at addressing these issues in a way that's going to be helpful, for working people.
Yeah. I want to say good work. People tell me you're doing a great job too, LaGrange, and I don't believe it. Vin, I feel like just like when we feel like we're ahead of something or on something, something new pops up, and I'm a little tired. I want a break. I need a vacation, but it's not like I can fly to Florida. They're not letting us in, and I feel like we just need to just keep doing what we're doing.
We do.
We
do, Chris, because, at the moment that we retreat, and I'm hopeful because of how much work that I've seen so many people do over the past several months and continuing to do. I really am. But there is always something that we have to do. We're fighting for this federal legislation right now, because we know it's going to pass in the next couple of weeks in all likelihood. But we also got to deal with the census. I mean, the census is really, really important. And right now, we're behind where we need to be. I know we didn't talk about that last week, but there are billions, hundreds of billions of dollars every year that go to states and localities that are funded based upon the census, the 2020 census. And so we need to do everything that we can, plus the representation in the House.
Yeah.
So we need to do everything that we can to make sure that we are ensuring a complete count, and the labor movement has done a phenomenal job at that.
Yeah.
Too. So that's another important component to this. But we see the deficits that we're potentially looking at the state and local level.
Yeah.
Very important. Another matter that we have to add to our list to do.
Yeah. All right, Vin. In closing, Brian, well, let's try to figure out a way to describe what this Heroes Act is and why it's important for everyone who reads our blog and listens to our show from coast to coast to get involved. Vinny Alvarez, president of the New York City Central Labor Council. Vin, thanks for your time, brother. We will carry that message with you. And stay chipper, my friend. Stay tough, okay? Thank you for your time.
We will. Thanks, Chris. And I appreciate you. I appreciate everything that you guys are doing. Let's stay together and stay strong on these issues.
Thanks, brother. Okay, talk to you soon.
Take care.
Yep, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Brian, we should try to figure out, too, like what, it's not like the AFL-CIO probably has super PACs. CLC has a super PAC. We have a super PAC. There it is right there, right? Can you see it? UConn PAC.
Make sure you donate.
But like the messaging, Vin said it. Vin said exactly what needs to happen to bring some sense of government and normalcy back to our the nation, where we lost touch 3.5 years ago when we put this madman in the White House. We need all these things, and the union movement's trying to do that, but we're so just concentrated on racial inequality right now. Mm-hmm. Some people are really concentrated on the pandemic. Some people are really concentrated on the jobs and the stock market and the Dow. Jesus. Where do you stop? Where do you start? But there's got to be like some super PACs out there that are really concentrating on putting pressure on these 20 assholes that Vinny listed, to be like, okay, let's dump some money into these districts and shame the hell out of them. Collins is done, right?
Yeah, I mean,
she's in Maine, right?
Yeah, there's a few of them.
Skippy's going to Maine in July. Skippy, have a good time in Maine, buddy. When you see Collins, push her down a hill.
I mean, there's a few of them on the list that are considered, behind right now. Martha McSally in Arizona, Tom Tillis in North Carolina.
What about the guy running against McConnell? He somehow I'm on his list.
Yeah, McConnell.
He's asking me for money every freaking day.
There was a poll that came out this week that showed McConnell maybe, I forget if it was tied or behind slightly. Now there's a primary down there in the Democratic side, so we'll see who comes out of that.
All
but McConnell might be in trouble. Scott Deans in Montana may be in trouble. So there's a lot of these guys who, if they don't sort of do what we want them to do, money is going to get dropped there.
I just wish we had like a Heroes Act ad to play now that's running in Kentucky, Florida, Maine, because we're in New York. We don't get shit here.
Because our senators actually do their job.
Yeah, no. All of our electeds do the right thing here in the Empire State. But any interactions? Can we go to a break?
We can go to a break, but we have some interactions.
All right, when we come back, we'll talk about it. I want to thank Vinny Alvarez from the New York City Central Labor Council. The very busy guy took the time to calm me down last week. That should have been, I should have recorded that and be like, Vinny, what the hell are we doing? He's like, LaGrange, calm down. We got a plan. And he calmed me down. Vinny Alvarez, one of the best Central Labor Council Federation union leaders in this nation. You just heard him on our show. UCOM Live with me, Chris LaGrange. News, talk, sports, workforce, politics, the fastest growing podcast on, in, and around the internet. We'll be right back. 3 commercials.
Promotional considerations for UCOM Live with Chris LaGrange are provided by the following.
I love New York. We love New York.
We've been stuck inside our homes,
while our everyday heroes have been working overtime.
For New York to reopen
and stay open.
We all need to do our part.
And show that we care.
Look, man.
I wear a mask to protect you.
You wear a mask to protect me.
Let's all wear a mask
to stop the spread of coronavirus
and save lives.
When we show up in the mask,
we're showing up for each other.
Show your love for New York.
Because New York loves you.
Did you read that story on UConn Blog? UConn Blog is America's fastest growing daily news service, delivering news on progress, sports, entertainment, current events, and workplace politics. Our team of writers and trusted sources weed out the bullshit and get you the stories that you need. With a weekly email and a daily workweek text, you can't find content like ours anywhere else. Designed for the busy activists on the go, that's UConnblog.com. UConnblog.com.
Our children have been through so much. This pandemic has taken away their schools, their sports, their play dates. These tough times will follow them forever, but we can change that. Let's bring our kids back to the schools they left behind and give them the education they deserve. Our kids are the heroes too, so vote yes on your school budget and give them their childhoods back. LongIslandTeachers.org. Teacher leaders in the community.
All right, we're back. UCOM Live with Chris LaGrange. News, talk, sports, workforce, politics, the fastest growing podcast on, in,
chill, nasty Nate,
and around the internet.
Are you some damn moron?
Pretty good show so far. Exhausting. You know what else is exhausting? I saw something on Netflix last night. Uncut Gem with Sandler. And that was an exhausting fucking movie. Non-stop action, talking, stress. All I'm saying, and I'm a big Sandler fan. In fact, I probably have him everywhere.
That's the whole your whole
my
box
whole dump box is something Sandler said, or from a Sandler movie. Give me one. Where is one?
Start pressing buttons.
Start pressing buttons. I'm sure I'll find one. But anyway, it's exhausting. And what's going on, and I think it mimics what our lifestyles are nowadays, that it's nonstop, wake up, earn, father,
Eric,
parent. There you go. Parent.
Today, Junior.
Right? Exactly. He's my hero. Between him and the king of Almeida, Howard Stern. It's a sign of the times. And, you know, you can't help but just feel something when, as you get older, as you get wiser, that everything has consequences. Everything is important, especially when you're trying to raise children in this crazy time. I can't tell my kids, well, during this 80s when I had my pandemic, no, I never had one. So much was taken away from our kids because we thought it was fucking funny to let some people with white privilege put in a guy from reality TV into the White House who fucked everything up. And now his base is mad that everyone fucking hates him. What are people commenting about that too, by the way, Brian?
So we had somebody say, I agree, if police union members acted like union brothers and sisters to fellow union members instead of them being beneath them, I would be more sympathetic to their cause. And then we had somebody else say,
I guess he was just commenting that when I've asked them personally, from the ones I know, to participate, and they don't because they say they're fucking different now.
Yeah, I think he's just saying, you know, they're crying, saying that their profession is under threat and everything. But when telecom or nurses or SCIU members are out on strike, cops are nowhere to be found. They don't show up, and in some cases, they get violent.
Yeah, one guy says, he runs a teachers union, I'm not going to put out the Black Lives Matters because a few of my members married cops. All the fucking reason to put it out there.
Yeah.
If they're good cops, then fucking come in March. In my march, the cops raised their fist in support.
Mm.
They were not the enemy at all. You know? I think they were feeling it. Like, I know these people. I live in a very diverse neighborhood.
Yeah.
Other comment from Schneck.
Yep. He said the union is not the problem. It's racist psycho cops that brutalize and murder people of color. The leadership of the PBAs need to man up and call out and toss out bad racist cops to the benefit of the vast majority of cops that are genuine and true professionals.
So, I mean, that should be a whole other show. I mean, we can go on for hours and hours here, but like, you know, if you have a bigot in your ranks, you should kick them out. Well, some of those in the IBEW and the CWA and the teachers who I've had this conversation with before on the side over a beer, like, Chris, yeah, I'm crazy. I got Trumpers in my ranks. I can't remove them.
Yeah.
Well, I'm like, well, Trumpers don't belong in the classroom. Well, it's hard to prove. It's hard to prove they're a cross-burning bigot that laughs at kids are in cages. Very easy. Monitor their Facebook page. Oh, I can't. I got to protect them, too. I know. 90% of your time, energy, and money goes to protecting 10% who ain't worth their weight in shit. Now, the difference between racist linemen, racist installers of FiOS, and racist teachers is that, you know, bigoted cops are armed with the power of lethal force. A racist lineman is armed with the power of rubber arms.
Well, and like a racist telecom worker, what are they going to do? Refuse to install an African American in an African American's house? They're going to get fired for that.
And a racist teacher, you know.
Well, that's a little different, but
there's a bunch, but they're probably took them years to become that bigoted and
I mean, if there's a trend that they're giving lower grades to minority students, you have a.
I still don't think Republicans belong in the classroom. No one will let me write that. I'll say it now. Thank God no one listens to the show, right, James?
James!
You tell me. I just make it sound good, bro.
Come on, Phil.
But George Floyd's brother spoke before Congress. Man, he had it together. Do you think he wrote it or he had a team of professionals? A little bit of both.
I think he put it together. Somebody probably read over it, but it sounded very heartfelt.
We're going to play it. It's a few minutes, and I think it's worth hearing. I actually caught it on my Echo show, my Amazon little device. It was like yesterday morning or something, right?
I think, yeah, he did it yesterday.
So give it a listen. Because
Chairman Gerald Nadler and members of the committee, thank you for the invitation here today to talk about my big brother, George. The world knows him as George, but I called him Perry. Yesterday, we laid him to rest. It was the hardest thing I ever had to do. I'm the big brother now, so it's my job to comfort my brothers and my sisters, Perry's kids, and everyone who loved him. And that's a lot of people. I have to be the strong one now because George is gone. And me being the big brother now is why I'm here today. To do what Perry always would have done. To take care of the family and others. I couldn't take care of George that day he was killed, but maybe by speaking with you today, I can make sure that his death will not be in vain. To make sure that he is more than another face on a t-shirt, more than another name on a list that won't stop growing. George always made sacrifices for our family, and he made sacrifices for complete strangers. He gave the little that he had to help others. He was our gentle giant. I was reminded of that when I watched the video of his murder. He called all the officers sir. He was mild-mannered. He didn't fight back. He listened to all the officers. The man who took his life, who suffocated him for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, he still called them sir as he begged for his life. I can't tell you the kind of pain you feel when you watch something like that. When you watch your big brother, who you looked up to your whole entire life, die begging for his mom. I'm tired. I'm tired of pain. Pain you feel when you watch something like that. When you watch your big brother, who you looked up to for your whole life, die begging for his mom. I'm here to ask you to make it stop. Stop the pain. Stop us from being tired. George called for help and he was ignored. Please listen to the call I'm making to you now, to the calls of our family and the calls ringing out the streets across the world. People of all backgrounds, genders, and races have come together to demand change. Honor them, honor George, and make the necessary changes that make law enforcement the solution and not the problem. Hold them accountable when they do something wrong. Teach them what it means to treat people with empathy and respect. Teach them what necessary force is. Teach them that deadly force should be used rarely and only when life is at risk. George wasn't hurting anyone that day. He didn't deserve to die over $20. I'm asking you, is that what a black man is worth? $20? This is 2020. Enough is enough. The people marching in the streets are telling you enough is enough. By the leaders that in our country, the world needs the right thing. The people elected you to speak for them, to make positive change. George's name means something. You have the opportunity here today to make your names mean something too. If his death ends up changing the world for the better, and I think it will, then he died as he lived. It is on you to make sure his death is not in vain. I didn't get the chance to say goodbye to Perry while he was here. I was robbed of that. But I know he's looking down at us now. Perry, look up at what you did. Big brother, you changed the world. Thank you for everything, for taking care of us when on earth, for taking care of us now. I hope you found mama and you can rest in peace with power. Thank you.
Wow. Man, he held it together. I would have bawled. What about you, James? I couldn't have done that. You have a brother. I have a brother.
Yeah.
Imagine watching my brother die like that on TV.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I couldn't go in front of Congress and say, you have a job to do, get it done. You know, that's what he did. He reminded those overpaid motherfuckers why they're fucking there. Dance all you want, AOC. It's time for change. And what would you do? What if your kin was killed? Would you turn your daughter, son, wife, brother's death into a calling, or would you just die in a bottle, be bitter, become, or would you do something positive of it? You know, I never want to ever know what I would do. I don't ever want to experience that. And what today, 846, right? The Communications Workers of America put out to their members, fucking do something, 846.
Yep.
At 846, I was at a hardware store buying bird food. What an asshole I am.
No, they did it at noon. They went.
Oh, they went at noon.
Yeah.
But at 846 this morning, I thought, should I do something? Should I social media my ass? I didn't know what to do. But the Communications Workers of America,
yeah, they
at noon.
They walked off the job at noon for 8 minutes and 46 seconds.
Gotcha.
Because that was how long the officer had his knee on.
And, you know, some jerk said to me, it's unfortunate that the martyr, George Floyd, didn't have a better track record because he had run into law enforcement before and he was a bouncer. All right. I got a DUI in 03. Right? I got so many ACODs when, you know, you get in trouble.
Desk appearance.
How many desk appearance I had? So am I not a good spokesperson, if you will, to talk about these issues? Because I made a mistake in 2003 because, you know, I yelled at a scab and had a desk appearance. What else did I do? I've been in trouble with the law. I stole, like, property in college and got caught.
So you're looking in my window the other day.
Doled off bags of pot when I was a freshman in college. I mean, shit. It's a shit.
So you're not running for president?
No. Okay. Well, I would. I'd probably get elected after this guy rapes 12-year-olds. You're going to rape a 12-year-old, he'd be president of the United States. That's what Europe's thinking about Trump. See that Epstein picture with him the other day? It was disgusting.
Thanks, Anonymous.
Yeah. Thanks, Anonymous. George Floyd called out Congress to do their job.
His brother.
Yeah. I just hope that Congress and the Democrats don't screw this all up.
That's asking a lot.
Yeah, it's asking a lot. Asking a lot. He held it together. I'm very proud of him. I know how hard that was.
Well, that's the thing. His message is really
spot on.
You know, it seems like the only message that's
it.
Really applicable.
Yeah.
And everything else is just noise.
That needs to be played. You know?
Yeah. That the news organizations actually do something and play the right stuff.
From God's ears to James' mouth.
That's right.
From your mouth to God's ears.
From James's mouth to God's ears. Now, here is this guy now in what's the organization this Mark guy represents? The State Association of Police Unions.
Yeah, he's a New York State Police Benevolent Association, I think.
So the New York State PBA. So we're going to play the video, and I want you to pay attention carefully.
Mark O'Mara?
That's it. I want you to pay attention carefully to body language and the message. It's important.
Good afternoon. My name is Mike O'Mara. I'm the president of the New York State Association of PBAs. And I just want to talk to you, the press, and I want to talk to the police officers. 375 million interactions with the public every year. 375 million interactions. Overwhelmingly positive responses. Overwhelmingly positive responses. But I read in the papers all week, we all read in the papers, that in the black community, mothers are worried about their children getting home from school without being killed by a cop. What world are we living in? That doesn't happen. It does not happen. I am not Derek Chauvin. They are not him. He killed someone. We didn't. We are restrained. And you know what? I'm saying this to all the cops here. Because you know what? Everybody's trying to shame us. The legislators, the press, everybody's trying to shame us into being embarrassed about our profession. But you know what? This isn't stained by someone in Minneapolis. It's still got a shine on it. And so do theirs. So do theirs. Stop treating us like animals and bugs and start treating us with some respect. That's what we're here today to say. We've been left out of the conversation. We've been vilified. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. Trying to make us embarrassed of our profession. 375 million interactions. Overwhelmingly positive. Nobody talks about all the police officers that were killed in the last week in the United States of America, and there were a number of them. We don't condone Minneapolis. We roundly reject what he did as disgusting. It's disgusting. It's not what we do. It's not what police officers do. Our legislators abandoned us. The press is vilifying us. Well, you know what, guys? I'm proud to be a cop. And I'm going to continue to be proud to be a cop until the day I retire.
So at my old house, my neighbor across the street, he was like a maintenance guy at some organization. And as soon as he would leave, this cop car would show up and he would go in and bang this guy's wife. He did that for like weeks and months. I watched it like every fucking day. And I'm like, wow, Jesus. Well, you know, someone's got to keep her happy, you know. My nephews who are half black, you know, I have gotten talked to. They're only 11. One's 11, one's 11 and a half. And my kids are 10. We tend to have reproduced at the same time in my La Familia. And yeah, their parents have already had talks with them about how to act around police officers. And I had to have that talk with my very white daughter and my kid who looks brown. He's got nicknames. I call my kid Sanjay Gupta because he looks Indian almost, you know, because he's half me, half Dominican. About how they're to act when they get pulled over in the future. And my kids are smart, you know. They talk to 10-year-olds gotten pulled over. Yes, my kids are incredibly smart. They read at two grade levels above, and they understand how the world turns. And they know what their dad does for a living. Like, if you ever get pulled over with your cousins and you guys are out, you know, just hanging out or partying, whatever, you know, you get a ticket, keep your 10 and 2, have it out. Boom. They ask your cousin to get out of the car. You roll up the fucking windows. You lock the door and say, call daddy. And you say, officer, I'm calling my daddy. That's the reality of, regardless of what this guy was saying, flexing his muscles after he did a key bump. Man, he looked all drugged up. Didn't he, James? Like, don't let that guy in the bar.
James isn't paying attention.
Yeah. James, you weren't watching that?
Watched it.
What if your sister brought him home? Listen, you might want to... I know this construction guy. Anyway.
Well, no. So you want my take on it? It's just
kind of.
What he said, if you just replace that with how a black person feels about society, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So everyone's kind of on the same page now, and we'll have to talk to each other.
Yeah.
And try and move on together from this shit show.
What's great...
It's a positive change.
The positives of that, and to you rank and file cops who are not watching, you have an organization that's advocating for your rights. Imagine being a worker in an industry that doesn't have a voice and no one can speak for you. So that's what the AFL-CIO was alluding to, that all workers, and Vinny said it too when he called in about an hour ago, all workers deserve to have a voice. That's your voice. That's who represents you, what you just saw. Whether you want to admit it or not, whether you agree with it or not, too fucking bad, that represents you.
Yeah, and I think cops should also realize that represents you. If you don't agree with what those guys say or how they act, like, rank and file do need to stand up.
Yeah, get involved.
If you're an African American officer and you say, well, our kids are scared, you need to talk to that guy and tell him.
Yeah,
like,
and you do it in
there is
private.
a real fear.
You do it in private. It's called new business. It happens at most union meetings. You can understand Robert's rules that you do, like, the bills, and then, the business manager, the president's reports, new business, and you can talk about it then.
Yeah.
You can do a one-on-one with your rep at all levels.
Well, and you also should say to them, if you're doing this press conference, about
feel better now?
No. What?
You should also talk to them about, if you're doing this press conference about racial bias, maybe don't only have white people at it.
Nah, there was one guy in there.
Okay. The NYPD,
couple Spanish, Puerto Rican guys.
What is this bullshit? Now,
Chinese guy.
We got to get off this topic because I'm going to get in trouble.
Yes,
or not, or whatever.
Oh, no, you probably get.
The NYPD likes to brag that they're a majority police force, but then whenever we see images from the NYPD, it's always white people.
Yeah.
So let's get some color into the people who are representing the police.
SecDef, Secretary of Defense, is usually someone with a military background, and then they throw a suit on them, right?
It depends.
Yeah, and then your Joint Chiefs of Staff is
that is a military position.
Stiff suit. He about faces in his own shower.
I don't think they wear suits. They have to wear the uniform.
The uniform,
because they are military.
Stiff wool, made in Vietnam. Anyway, so we had Will Addig from the Union Veterans Council on, and he did one of the best interviews I ever done. People say I'm a good interview. I'm really not. I'm just.
Just the one time you listen, Chris.
I have a short attention span, and I like to move things along. Will was on because he is such a consummate professional and an advocate and a activist. Will was able to push the AFL-CIO to do something historic, which was have the AFL-CIO call on our federal government to remove the Secretary of Defense and the Joint Chiefs of Staff and ask them to resign. The union movement has never gotten involved in affairs like that because when the military was called to point their guns on us, we didn't have an AFL-CIO. Yeah. We barely had an AFL. I mean, Samuel Gompers came around in the 1800s, creating the AFL. And
yeah, for most of that, we were talking about Knights of Labor and stuff like that.
Weird. And Susan B. Anthony was hot back then. Now we got the Kardashians with the big fake butts. Different time, right, James?
It's a great time. Well, it was. Or we thought it was, but it wasn't.
So
are you not entertained?
Maybe we need more Susan B. Anthony's, less Kardashians.
So, so the AFL-CIO adopted the Union Veterans Council recommendation, pushed our government to remove these people, to get involved in swim in waters they never swam in before. And although I knew what was going to happen and happened, they're not resigning. These are career politicians. These are career soldiers.
Yeah, although the Joint Chief of Staff, Mike Milley, made a statement today about it, apologizing for being involved.
Who gives a fuck? Thanks.
Yeah,
pal. Thank you for apologizing.
Thank you for understanding
that you're an asshole.
Did something wrong.
Yeah, and don't ever do it again. Or he's going to do it again and apologize again.
We'll see.
President Biden will be like, your services are no longer needed.
Yeah.
Whatever. Man, he's an ugly motherfucker, too. I guess a lifetime of war does it to you. Geez, can't keep anybody healthy.
War's still going on.
Yeah, I guess, right? So, congratulations to the AFL-CIO. It's like one of our top-ranking trending stories right now for doing that. Any comments on that, Brian? No? I mean, we don't have it in front of us, but there's tons of it. People were very quick to let us know their opinion on that one, recycle that, and all that good stuff. But that's our world right now, but everybody. That's what's going on. And we just got to understand that as we're pushing Trump to leave, pushing him out of office, we got to not, like Will said last week, it's not just about Trump. It's the men and women around him who are enabling him, who are allowing him. And if you don't have access to the Joint Chiefs of Staffs or to the cabinet, but you have access to somebody that you know who made the grave mistake of casting their ballot for him, you also have a responsibility to try to talk some sense into that person without it turning south. Understand when you're talking to a lost cause, to somebody who just doesn't want to change, who doesn't think that there's anything wrong with the world, who thinks everybody has the same privileges as them. It's frustrating when you live in a diverse country, which is the United States, where people from all different backgrounds and cultures come together into one employer, one union.
Even people from Syracuse.
People from Syracuse dealing with assholes from Rochester. Long Islanders in college, I thought you were all assholes. Now I live amongst you. Now I realize, holy shit, I wasn't wrong. Just kidding. Let's do a break before I get myself in any more trouble. But it's up to all of us to push, like the AFL did, like Will Addig did, like Vinny Alvarez is doing, to try to make some sense of this horrible, horrific nonsense we call the United States of America. We'll be right back. UCOM Live with me, Chris LaGrange. News, talk, sports, workforce, politics. Give us a few minutes. We'll be right back.
UCOM Live with Chris LaGrange is sponsored in part by...
I can't believe he found them.
He seems sorry.
We very clearly told him not to look up there.
I'm honestly impressed that he was able to do it.
Right? But did he balance on that big chair?
Yeah, I mean, I guess he'll just know what his gifts are this year.
I really thought we had hidden them well.
If they can find their presents, they can find a gun.
911, what is your emergency?
Every day, 8 kids and teens are unintentionally killed or injured by loaded and unlocked guns. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and End Family Fire.
The UCOM Media Group is our nation's premier marketing, advertising, and internal union communications consulting service. UCOM's award-winning websites, newsletters, texts, and strategic messaging delivers the union value set in a unique and relatable message that really resonates. With affordable rates and proven organizing methods that work, we take a load off your workload. To learn more and set up a consultation, visit ucomworks.com. That's ucomworks.com.
UCOM Live call-in line, 631-969-9599. Or you could try 631-969-9599. If none of those work, try 631-969-9599.
They sure don't. UCOM Live with Chris LaGrange. News, talk, sports, workforce, politics, the fastest growing podcast on in and around the internet. We got to get a new phone.
Show me his number.
I will. I'll show you in a
ended
second.
it. I thought we were ending the show.
Yeah. I got to get a new phone because I run the Insta from my own personal phone, and people feel like I'm looking at that while I'm trying to host the world famous UCOM Live with Chris LaGrange.
Thank you.
So guys, stop cursing me out while I'm trying to do a show. Brian said, should we talk about 50A? 50A is a rule in New York that, long story short, protects the discipline records of police officers. And it's been on the books since the formation of police unions. And they recently rescinded it.
Yeah,
and,
this week.
And the cops are mad because legislators who they've been whining and dining for their entire careers are not returning calls. So they rescinded it, and now the state attorney general in New York has created a department to take a look at the cases of this is what seems so fucking stupid. When a cop kills somebody, okay, we're going to open up the case. Now, that's not Letitia. We love you, right, Tish James?
Well,
don't we want to prevent more murder, or we want to?
Yeah, the new law moves all. I believe it moves all police misconduct cases. Like whenever somebody files a complaint against the police, it moves them to the attorney general's department.
And
my
my neighbor's a DA, and he's a local county DA, and he's like, when they find that there is something to this, then we should release the records. Okay. And that makes sense and I talk to my friends in law enforcement and law enforcement unions. You know how many times complaints come in from somebody about the way we treated them, and they realize that person was just an asshole?
Sure.
And a lot of good cops are going to get hurt. I totally agree. I don't want personal records of good cops going out there because some asshole who has been nothing but a career criminal decides that, oh, okay, well, now I can complain because I got caught with stolen fucking shit in my car. I don't know, whatever the case may be. I totally understand, but I don't know.
Can you text Don and tell him to pick up the phone?
No.
Okay, that's it. We're done.
I wanted to.
Done with Don.
Donnie said, what the hell? Because I wanted to hear what his union did at 8:46 today. And then in the mainstream media, I have concerns that they stopped bargaining with the PBA or the FOP or whatever the fuck they call themselves in Minneapolis. And now I'm concerned is because, okay, are you going to stop bargaining with all public employee unions because of these assholes?
Well, that is a unique situation, though, because the city council this week voted to disband the city police force. So if they're disbanding the city police force, is there necessarily reason to negotiate with them?
Yeah. 1.5 million losing their job. Big deal. Is that for sure, or is that speculation?
That's how many people, government employees, have either been laid off or furloughed so far.
All right.
So March, April, May.
All right. Yeah, go ahead.
What exactly is going on? They're just because I heard they're going to deunionize it and they're going to just disband the police department.
This is in Minnesota?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe what they're going to do is...
Sounds crazy.
I'm just curious of what is actually going on, because I just saw headlines. I'm like, obviously, there's more to it.
Yeah, what I think that they're going to do is they're getting rid of the city police force. The county police force is going to take over.
Okay.
And then I think that they may try to bring back the city police force, similar to like what Camden, New Jersey did, where they got rid of their police force and then basically started rehiring people, and
there they go.
Changing the focus of the police force.
A racist Rorschach test or something?
I tell you this, what's his name? Dennis, the murderer there in Minneapolis?
Chauvin, yeah.
What's his name?
I don't remember what his first name is, but
his
Chauvin
name
is his last name.
When he goes to jail, he shouldn't last 24 hours. Every CEO should bring him up into a back room and just rearrange his ribs for a few hours.
Well, we'll see if he goes to jail. Convicting a cop is extraordinarily difficult.
Yeah. Well, I saw a guy sign, hey, you think this is bad now, don't send him to jail or don't get a guilty verdict.
Well, look what happened after Rodney King.
Yeah. So I think that law enforcement in Minneapolis realize that the world's watching. I think there'll be a conviction. There's got to be.
Well, I read something yesterday that before they arrested him, the local DA was actually in talks with him to try and get him to plead out because they didn't want a situation where a trial happened and then he got off, like George Zimmerman or whatever.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you don't know what evidence the cops have that could be damning in both cases, and if it comes out or not.
Yeah, well, and I was talking to a friend who's a lawyer who said, it's going to be extremely difficult to get sort of a fair jury in Minneapolis, and if they move the case, you're in a state that's 90% white, so you're going to move it out into the suburbs or whatever. He's most likely then going to get a white jury, which we know tends to be more pro-cop. And there's
where do you think they could go, James? U.S. Virgin Islands?
I wouldn't go anywhere. Yeah, I just wouldn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
A jury of your peers in the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Technically, there's no. Everyone knows what happened, and it wasn't good.
But that's the problem. You got to get a jury that doesn't know what happened. So.
Yeah, I know, but also
unfounded allegations.
We want the whole
unfounded.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh well.
Go to Canada.
No.
Well, do we want to talk about the economy that Trump is destroying and the government employees that are getting laid off?
Yeah.
I think we're gonna do another hour, right?
No. After we talk about that, we're gonna talk about baseball, and then I'm out of here.
I gotta get out of here. I'm gonna be late. My wife's gonna beat me.
I'm sad. I hope you are too.
Yeah.
We try to say the AFL. Go to the AFL-CIO podcast page, and we're described as a fast, funny show. It's fast. It ain't fucking funny anymore. I try to make it funny.
I had a good one-liner or two here today.
You did.
You drinking?
Eric!
Cry baby. Could do it again.
Eric?
No, crying.
Chris LaGrange, you're a motherfucker.
There you go.
That's
hysterical.
Yeah. I don't know. 1.5, what about him?
Yeah, so 1.5 million public employees have been laid off or furloughed so far. States are projecting a 20% decrease in state revenue, so more layoffs are expected. And
9,000 Trumpers in North Carolina are going to be laid off.
Department of Transportation employees. Michigan's already furloughed 2/3 of their state workforce.
I think a lot of progressive people work in the DOT in North Carolina. Not. Go.
And the projections are that it's not just going to be like state employees, but that it's going to start to trickle down to people like teachers, firefighters, and police, especially as the new school year starts and districts have a significant cost for distance learning, new cleaning supplies and stuff like that. And then they're going to be dealing with a 20 or a 30% decrease in funding from the states.
What do you think, Chris? A race to the bottom through municipalities and government?
I don't know. I was at a park the other day and I saw a municipal worker sleeping on his thing. His riding lawnmower. Right in plain daylight.
Dangerous.
Right? No, it wasn't running or anything, but it was parked under a tree.
We got the wrong jobs.
I know.
I don't even know. I can't even call this a job.
You ever seen a public employee rally? Very rare. If you do, it takes some months to organize it. All right. MLB. Rob Manfred. I say his name right?
No.
Fred.
Yeah.
He promises us there will be baseball. And the players are given a deal that they didn't like because they wanted even more concessions. You give these asshole bosses an inch, they want a mile.
Yeah.
Oh, no matter what you do for a living. Right?
Definitely. And they're billionaires.
Yeah.
Like, as much as they want to cry poverty, you have to be a billionaire or at least a very high 100 millionaire to buy a baseball team.
In Green Bay, when our board of directors say, listen, we need more money to add more seats and press boxes, they just sell stocks. And it works. So I buy I give them $300. They send me a form. I hang it, and I can tell people, oh, I own stock in the Green Bay Packers. I really don't, but it's like a fundraiser. I can tell people. Seems like it's an idea that works, but they outlawed that.
They banned it, yeah.
Yeah. They also outlawed blowing up trucks during union organizing drives. Look where it got us.
Yeah. So
look where it got us.
So the players offered an 89-game plan. The owners rejected it because the owners, they want pay cuts. Yeah. And the players have said we took enough of a pay cut. They want 100% of their salaries for the games that they play.
Yeah. So can't they prorate it?
That's what it would be. It would be prorated. So
that makes sense. So let's do it.
If you played 81 games, you'd get 50% of your salary for the year. So if you signed for $10 million, you get $5 million. But the owners are claiming that they're going to lose 70 to 80% of their revenue because there aren't going to be fans. And so they think that cuts should be 70 to 80%, especially for the big time players. And if the players don't reach an agreement with the league, though, Manfred does have the ability to just institute a season. And ESPN's reporting that would be a 48-game season, although the MLBPA told some of their reporters that if it happened, they would file a grievance, first of all, to try and stop the season, and they also wouldn't agree to an extended playoff, which Major League Baseball is hoping to institute this year and next year, because there's obviously more revenue, more teams
you have
that
to
make
win
the playoffs.
20 games, 30 games to make the playoffs.
Yeah, like 30 games.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, they're really going to actually have a real World Series.
Well,
a big asterisk.
I feel like it has to be. It has to be like the trophy has to be smaller.
Right? I mean, a 40.
It has to be like a softball trophy. What if they just played softball instead this year?
Yeah,
the major leaguers.
A 48-game season, right? To get through the playoffs, you have to win what 20 something games or 15 games. So you'd have like half your season would just be the playoffs.
I might have to scratch it because, like you said, these bosses are greedy. They're going to go, we don't have to pay you that much. We're going to shorten the season.
How many COVID cases are growing in Florida and Texas, just going up and up and up, right?
Yeah, it just keeps going up. Yeah. Arizona had to institute their emergency hospital program because 75% of their beds were taken. California also is seeing a huge increase.
The young people marching and rioting, peacefully protesting in every state in this union are young. Their immunity is up. They will get COVID-19. They will get sick. Will they die? Who knows? Only the big guy upstairs knows. You don't see a lot of older people who have low immunity marching. These are healthy or younger people. We will see an uptick in this, in COVID cases.
Well, one of the good things that I've seen, at least here in New York, is people tend to be wearing masks when you go to them.
I didn't bump into anybody on Sunday. I grabbed my kids.
Yeah.
And that's it. But every time I see someone now, because we're in phase 2 in New York, I'm elbow bumping, and then I'm washing myself with Clorox and Brillo pads as soon as I get home. Just in case.
Not literally.
Yeah, but I am. I'm all shaved.
Yeah.
You need some lube, lotion,
maybe. But yeah, folks, we're not out of it yet. People are still getting sick. The economy is still shit.
Well, today the Dow had like its 4th largest drop in just pure points because they're saying that there's going to be a second wave now, and it could be hitting in a couple days.
Right. I implore my friends and people that I respect and like in law enforcement, especially in organized labor, to
wash your fucking hands.
Well, do that, obviously.
Wear masks.
Well, to weather this storm, okay? Still hold your head high. There's a lot of good cops out there. There's some bad ones.
Oh, no, it's the cops!
But weather this storm. Stay at the table. And next time your old pal LaGrange picks up the phone and said, hey, you know what? You want to come down to this picket line? Show up. Not in uniform. Put your PBA hats on and show up. Come join the family. We're on your side. You got to realize that. All right? So that's it. I'm done. I want to take next week off, but I'm sure some other shit will hit the fan. It'll be all over me, and I'm going to have to talk about it.
We have 4th of July coming up soon.
Oh, really? Is it next week?
A couple weeks.
All right.
A few weeks.
If you buy fireworks and it's illegal in your state, don't get caught. All right.
Oh, we got Father's Day coming up, too, Chris.
Oh, yeah. Happy Father's Day, Dad. My dad. So remember, the only crime you can commit is the crime of doing nothing, so get off your ass and go do something. Make room in your heart for the poor. And beware of the rich, because the rich can never be trusted. This has been UConn Live with me, Chris LaGrange. News, talk, sports, workforce, politics, the fastest growing podcast on, in, and around the internet. Care more about your kids and your community and less about your goddamn guns. All right, everybody? Thanks for stopping by, America. And we will see you next week.